What is up, everyone? Circon is here bringing you guys day 11 from the advent calendar. Yes, already day 11. Man, time flies when you have shitty deals every day. Anyway, today's deal is... okay, I guess. It's the T44 100 advent offer. Obviously, it's the one with the whole shebang package memes, which you do not want. Also, it doesn't come with crew this time, so at least you're not paying for that. But you pretty much, not much of a discount, let's be real. 50% discount on the tier 8 is what you can get on the regular. And usually during Christmas time, they have 50% off all tier 8 premiums that are in the tech tree and stuff like this. So keep that in mind as well. It's the same across all the other Asia and the NA server, the exact same. So the T44 100, what is it about? It is literally a T44 that makes money and has some side skirts. That is pretty much it. I'll go through some more detailed stats, but as you can see, it does look pretty cool with the side skirts. I'm always a big fan of side skirts on tanks that, you know, I think they make any tank look better pretty much. And they do work, although, yeah, I mean, they do work. But like, will you really notice? Not really. But, I mean, it is an extra layer of armor, which is nice for, you know, side scraping purposes and stuff like this. Also remember that this tank and the other tanks like it, so the T44 and the T54 first prototype all got buffed. So the turret is really freaking good nowadays. And the gun itself is also a lot nicer. And they also gave it 190 base pen, which I think was way lower before as well, and 245 APCR pen. It is not limited matchmaking, of course. So yeah, a pretty good package. 380 free range as well, which is decent. It's the minimum amount that you want on your tier 8 medium. So you can work with that pretty well. Crew training purposes, of course, commander, gunner, driver, loader, and the loader is also a radio guy, which means it's pretty much perfect for crew training across the board. That is the same layout as the Object 140, etc. And of course, it's the same layout as the T44. Now, the visual here is not entirely correct because it's 122mm, because that's the top gun, but it's not really the top gun. So I don't know actually if I move this to this, will it change? Oh my god, it did! Technology, holy shit! But you can see the turret's exactly the same, the hull is exactly the same, it just doesn't have the side skirts. And if we compare the two, you can see that the gun is exactly the same in terms of firepower. However, there is some slight differences here in the gun handling, which means that the aim time is slightly lower on the T44-100 for some reason. But the gun handling whilst moving and tank traversing is better, while it's slightly worse on turret traverse. So in the end, this is, you know, you're not really gonna matter. This is not really gonna matter. Like overall, it's gonna feel roughly the same. And the gun handling is actually very, very nice nowadays after the buffs. Also, both tanks have 7 degrees of gun depression, which with the nice turrets makes for a pretty damn nice turret if you're facing other tier 8s, 7s, and 6s. Tier 9s will still shoot through it, but you know, you can get some pretty good angles on that turret and have like 300 plus armor in some ways. Now, if we take a look at the mobility, there's some weird shit going on. So it has more horsepower, right? More engine power, and it weighs slightly more, but the power to weight is infinitely better. It's a lot better. It's like almost 5 power to weight better. But the terrain resistances are really, really bad on the T44, and you know, the tank traverse is also a lot lower. And then the effective, like on hard, medium, and soft terrain is a lot better on soft terrain on the T44. So this is a really weird setup that kind of means, because you can see that 48 versus 0.96. This is effective traverse, by the way. This is terrain resistance. That's my bad. So what this means is that it kind of feels like the same mobility, because one has more horsepower but less or worse terrain resistances. The other one has less horsepower but way better terrain resistances. So in reality, it just means that this thing is, the T44-100 is just a little bit better tractor first in a lot of cases, except for on soft terrain. And then, you know, it's extremely similar. I don't know why it's not just exactly the same, but hey, it is what it is. The other major thing that you have to watch out for is that the T-44-100 only has an engine health of 190, which is in the front, or, well, at least, no, so it gets fire in the front. Engine, I don't think is in the front. So, but 190 is still really weak versus the 370, of course, the T-44. It also has 50 more health. So, all in all, extremely similar. It does go on fire a bit faster than the T-44 as well. And by God, the radio range is more. But in the end, they're practically the same. And I think I would still favor the T-44-100 over the T-44. Just because the side skirts do help a little bit. Negating some T-49 memers and stuff like this, the HE shells. It does help a little bit. And overall, it just feels a little bit nicer to play. But I mean, it's barely any difference. It's basically T-44 that makes money. So the price for this thing, though, is absolutely ridiculous. And I can tell you why it's ridiculous. Normally, I can't really put my finger on it, but this time I know for sure why it is ridiculous. Is that the T-44-100 was a mission reward tank that at least on the EU server, and I think NA was the same, where you could do missions for every nation. You had to get an X amount of kills and damage, I think. And then you got a token. If you got all the tokens of every nation, you got the tank. But the tokens were sold for a pretty high amount, meaning that if you grinded a couple of the nations and you bought some tokens, you would buy this tank for anywhere between 10 and 15 euros or something. That'd be reasonable, right? You wouldn't really notice it too much. But if you bought all the tokens, it came around to like 40 plus euros for tier 8 medium premium. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, really expensive. Because if you take a look at the regular tier 8 mediums, so this is the limited matchmaking one, cheaper. The STA, 25 bucks. CDC, 25 bucks. Pen 38, 25. Revolver, 25. Super Pershing, 25. Limited matchmaking. The Prius, 25. So it's 15 euros or so more than the regular ones. And this also comes across to another thing, is that the T-54 first prototype, the regular premium, is 29 bucks or so. This is in krona. It's kind of hard to see the conversion rates, but roughly 29 euros, 30 euros, which is, you know, 10 euros cheaper than the Advent Calendar Epic Special Price kind of thing. And that's another thing to note, is that the T-54 first prototype is a very good tank as well. Now, the thing with the T-54 first prototype is that it's an absolute monster when it fights its own tier or lower. But it's a little bit less nice to play when you're facing tier 9s and 10s, because it basically has a lot less speeds. So if you compare this with the Russian T-54 first prototype, you can see that you have a little bit less DPM. The aiming time, you know, and the gun handling is slightly worse, but it's doable. Still 7 degrees of gun depression, but it only goes 44, and the training assists and everything is a lot worse, whilst not getting the better training assists on the T-44-100. So it's a lot slower. It's decent, but it's slower. But the reason for this is that the hull armor gets ridiculous. All right, 120. That is the tier 9 T-54 levels of armor on a tier 8 medium, meaning you have an unangled effective armor of 196. Slight angles, 200. Slight angles, 200. See what I mean? This is, imagine facing tier 6s. They're gonna have a rough time, and even the lower plate is not the weakest thing I've ever seen in my life at tier 8. And it still has like 90 side armor. So you can actually, this against tier 6s especially, you dominate. So if there's 7 tier 6s in any team, good fucking luck. And as you can see, 240. If you angle it a little bit, the hull armor is redonkulous on the tier 8 medium. It still has decent speed. It still and it also got the upgraded turret, which used to be the weak spot of the T-54 first prototype, is now no longer a fucking weak spot. So if you're angled like this, you have around 200. This is 230, 240. You know, it's insanity. The turret is insane. The gun mantlet works. It has the small as fuck weak spot here, but no one really can hit, especially at tier 6 and 7, where people don't have first stabs or good crews yet. So this thing absolutely stomps tier 6 and also stomps a lot of tier 7s, especially medium tanks. This thing preys on medium tanks of lower tiers, absolutely dominates them. Whereas the T44-100, if you look at the 3D model here, same with the T44, has 150 hull armor, which is, you know, decent. But this is the range where you can get auto-penned by APCR of Cromwells and shit like this. Whereas the T54 first prototype can still bounce. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I think for a lot of people, especially, you know, a lot of people, if they play fast tanks, they're in a hurry to die kind of thing. It's like the Hellcat thing, where it's like, oh my god, I got so much speed, and then they can just rush forward and just die. And that happens to a lot of people, a lot of especially newer people, stuff like this. And I think for a lot of people, the 54 first prototype is a lot more forgiving. It's cheaper, and I would almost wait till Christmas, because it's almost undoubtedly going to be 15% off. And it's going to be in the tech tree, so you can buy it with gold. So there's a lot of advantages to buying this one. And T44-100 is basically overpriced because of the way that it entered the game with the mission tokens. So I think for a lot of people, the 54 first prototype is an infinitely better tank for you to buy. It has the same crew layout, but it has the awkward thing where the commander is the radio guy. And that might actually be the same. Let's just make sure we check that out right now. If we check the tier 9s and 10s, what the crew layout is there. USSR. Let's check the 140. It's probably the most played one, and the T54. So I might actually be wrong here with the T44-100 crew. Oh shit. We're doing it live. See, the commander is the radio on the 140, and on the T54, the loader is the radio, man. Man, that's really fucked up. So the crew training is better for tier 10s in the first prototype and better for the tier 9s in the T44-100. That's really fucking weird. Anyway, today we all learned a little bit more. That's it for me today. Like I said, I don't really think it's worth the price to buy this, and I think a lot of people will be better off with the first prototype. And yeah, that's about it for today. Day 10. No, sorry, day 11. Tomorrow, day 12. Hope to see you guys then. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll be doing these videos, you know, every day until it ends. And we still have a lot of days. It goes up until the 24th. So, yeah, we still have a lot of days ahead of us. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.